Good morning and welcome back. This is your first time on my channel, Ponderings of the Pre-Retired. My name's Lois. This is our third week in a series of daily meditations on Sundays. And so we are using the daily meditation Seasons of the Spirit. And we are on August 10th, Sunday. So this meditation starts with the quote, "Go where your best prayers take you." And that's from Frederick Buechner. The higher choice is the best choice, but often the most difficult. It is getting out of bed on a cold morning a half hour earlier to exercise or have quiet time. It is being committed to caring for ourselves and others in the best way that we can. It is promptly saying, "I'm sorry," when we've wronged someone. It is saying goodbye to a relationship that keeps us in painful stagnation and conflict. It is sometimes being cheerful when we don't feel that we can, in hopes that by doing so, our day will get better. The higher choice is forgiving ourselves for all the moments when we haven't been willing to make the higher choice. Perhaps self-compassion is actually the highest choice of all. Today, let me love myself enough to be willing to make decisions that are in my healthiest interest. A lot to unpack with this meditation this morning. And I really meditated on this and thought quite a bit about it this morning as I read it in preparation of reading it to you. And a couple of examples that came top of mind for me when I read this was the statement, "It is promptly saying, 'I'm sorry,' when we've wronged someone." And has this ever happened for you where maybe you just didn't handle a situation the best way and you needed to go back and apologize? Apologizing can be humbling, it can be difficult, and sometimes it's hard for us to even recognize when there's times where we need to apologize. The example that came to mind for me almost immediately was several years ago, actually. It was about 9 or 10 years ago. And I had to go to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles to switch over a title or get tags for a new vehicle or something where I had to have several documents with me to be able to prove my identity and prove that I own the vehicle and things like that. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through sometimes. And so I had thought that I had gathered all the information that I needed to have, the birth certificate, social security card, the registration, all of the things, the title. And I showed up. I was running late. I had to be at another appointment. I also was in the midst of, in the early stages of quitting smoking. And anyone who has ever been down that road can attest. When you initially try to stop using a drug that you're addicted to, which I was addicted to nicotine, you will have a lot of agitation and irritability initially. So probably my first mistake was trying to navigate this situation under those terms. But anyways, I go to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles and I go finally get up to the teller or the person who's there that's there to help me to navigate the situation after having waited in line, took my number, waited in line for quite a while. I finally get my turn and I'm excited to get this task off my plate. And I'm told that I, in fact, don't have everything that I need in order to complete my task. And I needed one more document. And I can't even, like I said, it was 10 years ago, but this came front of mind this morning. So I really wanted to share it because I feel like maybe there's others out in this community who can relate. But anyway, one piece of paper that I didn't have. So I immediately got very frustrated, very agitated, very irritable, And frankly, I took it out on this teller, this worker who's just doing her job. She told me no, that she couldn't proceed, and I needed to come back with this document that was needed. And I was not nice whatsoever. I was very agitated, very irritable, and just not a nice person that day. And I'm sure she deals with those types of personalities all day, every day in her job. But I left there initially being agitated, but then the more I thought about it, I thought that was not the right way to handle that situation, and that wasn't her fault. That was actually my fault because I was given instruction over the phone what I needed to bring, and I probably just didn't write it down, moving too quick, whatever the case may be. But I took my frustration, my irritability, my internal storm, I took it out on her. And that was not right. That was not me being my higher self, me making the choice to be kind. And so I thought about this all day. It weighed on me. The document that I needed, I was able to get that document. I had now had all the documents in this handy dandy little folder, and I head back to the same BMV on the same day, later on in the day, but it was the same day. And I wanted to talk directly to that teller, and I did. One of the things that I did before I got there is I stopped at a florist and I bought her a bouquet of flowers. And I took that bouquet of flowers to that teller and that worker, and I gave them to her, and I gave her a sincere apology because I really needed to apologize for my behavior that day. And when I was reading this morning, that example just came through for me as an example of how we can sometimes not be walking through this life as our highest self, but how we can also fix that, and how we can, through meditation, through self-awareness, through just acknowledging and being willing to acknowledge when we're wrong, we can fix things. So I feel like on that day, 9 years ago, for that teller who I have no idea who she is and I haven't seen her since then, she had probably one of her worst days dealing with me, but she also had one of her best days dealing with me. I hope, I pray that my acknowledgement and my apology helped her to be able to have a good day for the rest of the day. So for me, I'm going to take this meditation today and I'm going to walk through my day and hopefully moving forward with a higher level of awareness of how I am carrying myself, how I am presenting myself, how I'm dealing with my agitation, how I'm dealing with my stress. Because we're all under a lot of stress right now. This whole society is stressful. Our central nervous systems, I feel like, are all agitated and stressed and stretched and pressed. And we all need to have a higher awareness of how we're treating other people and be kind when we can be kind. And if we aren't, if we perform in a way, if we carry ourselves in a way that isn't really kind of meeting those standards we have for ourselves, or just the standards of being kind and compassionate and caring, then being willing to go back and say, hey, I'm sorry. I really am sorry for how I treated you or how I behaved. Because there's growth in that. There's growth and modeling that's happening through those types of activities for the person who's receiving it, for people around us. We don't know whose life we're touching. We don't know who is watching us. Who was watching me that day when I walked into the BMV and presented her with those flowers? Who maybe might have seen that scene play out and say, you know what? I was not very kind to so and so, or I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and yelled at my kids, or I got mad at somebody who pulled out of traffic and flipped them off, or whatever. What we're doing is providing example for others who hopefully through our behaviors, our actions, are learning what not to do when we're acting in ways like I was at the BMV that day, or learning what to do when they make a mistake, when I make a mistake, when I'm not living to my highest self. So this meditation was a great reminder for me. How about for you? Leave a comment and let me know about maybe a time where you can reflect back where maybe you weren't your highest self, or maybe there was a time where you gave compassion when compassion maybe wasn't even deserved by the other person. Because I think we all have times where people we feel like disrespect us, or they're not living to their highest self and they're mean to us or treat us badly. How are we showing potentially some compassion towards them or rising above the situation? So leave a comment. Let me know what, if any of this resonates with you, what you've kind of walked through in your life, and maybe an example, because the BMV example, that's only one example in my life. I'm now 60 plus years old. Believe me, there's plenty of times where I've made mistakes, and sometimes I didn't rectify them. Sometimes I did. I hope to believe that I'm getting better. I hope to believe that as I'm growing in my life and in my maturity and in my age, that I am learning to be more intentional and kind and authentic and genuine in how I carry myself in this world. So share your thoughts. I am absolutely loving doing these Sunday meditations. It's it's good for me too, because sometimes you get off track and you have full intentions to take time to do self-care, to meditate, to be mindful, to be intentional about focusing on self-improvement. And then life happens, right? We just get busy and things come up or interrupt our quiet time. And so this is really helping me to focus and having a accountability to you. If you haven't gotten the meditation book, if you haven't ordered it or thought about ordering it, I put a link in the description for this book that we are using. It's called Seasons of the Spirit, Daily Meditations for Adults in Midlife. And so I've been doing them every day. I just share on Sundays. So once a week I share on this channel. But one thing I've also been using this for, and if there's anybody out in the audience that is watching this, I've been using this with my patients. So I'm a therapist with individuals, adults who have addictions. And so I've been using these meditations also in my sessions with them, because sometimes I have sessions with my patients and they don't necessarily have anything that they really think that they want to talk about. And so I pull out my meditations and say, okay, well, let's read today's meditation and see if there's anything in the meditation that kind of sparks any thoughts for you or discussion for us. And also, one of the things that I do with meditations, and I don't know if anybody else does this or not, but I will sometimes, instead of looking at the day, like today I did August 10th, another thing that you can do with meditations that I do sometimes is to just let the universe guide you and just randomly open the meditation, and wherever your eyes land is the meditation that you would read. So, for instance, if I did this with Meditations of the Spirit, I would just ask the universe, please lead me to the information that you feel I need to read today. And then I would just open the book randomly, and my eyes landed on April 16th. And then I would just read April 16th and trust that the universe is going to, my higher power, my God, whatever your belief system is, my God leads me to what I need all the time. So when I randomly open this book, I know that God is leading me to what I need to read and what I need to hear. And so I'm going to, after this video today, I'm going to read April 16th because I think that's something that God wants me to know today. So I will read April 16th. So if you haven't gotten this book, if you want to follow along with these meditations with me, go ahead, click that link, and purchase this Seasons of the Spirit daily meditations. And let's do this together. This is all about a journey of self-improvement, being the best that we can possibly be, being the healthiest that we can possibly be, so that as we're moving towards our retirement, we move into our retirement in a way that we can enjoy it as much as possible, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Talk to you soon. Bye.